welcome. I am so excited about this Virtual Mental Health Monday. I'm Kimberly Kirkland, and so I direct the UAB Institute for Arts and Medicine. And Virtual Mental Health Mondays is a time once a month where we explore different topics that affect our health and wellness through the lens of arts and creativity. The mission of arts and medicine is to enhance healing and wellness for patients, families, staff, and the communities we serve. So we would love to know more about you for those who are on this Zoom. And so feel free in the chat to put your name and maybe where you're Zooming from, and also your connection or interest to this topic. And so we're just going to begin. We're talking with co-artistic director of Stuart Pimsler Dance and Theater, Suzanne Costello. She is the co-creator and director of Raising Our Voices, Stories of Cancer Told Through Movement, Music, and Voice, and we'll also be speaking to some of our cast members. So we have Brendan Price, Deidre Sanderson, and Nazma Chowdhury, and we also have some other cast members on the Zoom, so we might be speaking with some other folks as well. But I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Suzanne for an introduction. And Suzanne, you are on mute.
So good. Hi. I'm Suzanne Costello. I'm artistic co-director of Stuart Pimsler Dance Theater. We are a professional company based in Minneapolis, and we primarily tour both in this country and out of the country with our group, engaging communities in many ways, both through performance and workshops. We've had a special focus for about almost 30 years of working in healthcare. So that's been a really important part of our programming. We've been to Birmingham a number of times, and our partnership with Kimberly has continued to grow and deepen as a result, which has been fantastic. And this project is our most recent project here in Birmingham. And as we continue today, I know we'll talk more about it.
Thank you, Suzanne. Brendan, will you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Brendan Price. I am a cancer survivor. I also lost my wife to cancer and my mother to breast cancer. So there's been a lot of cancer in my family and in my life. I survived stage 4, my wife not, so it's bittersweet, you know, it really is. And there's always an opportunity for survivor guilt. And I have to remind myself that survivor guilt is a man-made thing. And when I can catch myself in that, I let the survivor guilt piece go. And I try and focus on the gratitude that I have for those folks who were in my life.
Thank you so much, Brendan. Deidre? Let's see. Deidre, you are on mute.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Hi, I'm Deidre Sanderson, and I'm a breast cancer survivor. It'll be 4 years here in a week or so. And I also have a lot of cancer in my family. My dad was going through colon cancer at the same time that I was going through breast cancer. So that was a lot right there. My grandmother has gone through leukemia, and she also had kidney cancer. My grandfather had prostate cancer. My dad actually also has had prostate cancer and melanoma, and my great grandparents have had cancer as well. So it's pretty prominent in the family tree. I've had a lot of friends pass away from cancer, and I think that's one thing that they don't tell you when you when you get cancer. You form these friendships with, with other cancer, with everyone, around you that has cancer, and then a lot of them pass away. So it's been hard. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Deidre. Nazma, were you able to call in? I don't think so. Well, Nazma, let us know, but okay, she's not able to get sound, but we do have Saguna as well, who is gonna share a little bit about herself.
Hi, everyone. As she said, I'm Suguna, and I have been, I can say, battling cancer for the past 6 years. It's been, it's stable to me, but then still the treatment keeps going on as either as maintenance therapy or as to take care to keep it in that stage. So I have gone through a lot. I'm the first generation. After hearing Deidre, nobody else had this. It's an ovarian cancer, third stage, 3C, third stage C. And I have I've been attended to very promptly. That is the most important thing in dealing with this disease is one has to know attend to it or deal with it right in the beginning. Though my cancer does not show up till it is little, onto the stage 2 or 3 at my age. Anyway, that is one, but I have taken life as it comes, and then I know that I have to deal with it, and then I know there are people, support in the family as well as amongst the medical professionals that I get to deal with it. Now a little small word about our Suzanne's Groove, which we have been doing. We tried doing something, and it is a wonderful expression of what we feel and what we want to say and convey. And we had wonderful rehearsals. We came to a stage last year, but it's okay. Now I think we will do it again this year. And I am really, really very happy that I'm part of that theater to say that what I feel about my life as a cancer patient. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saguna. So now we've met a few of our cast members, but I would love to go back to Suzanne and ask, how did you come to this community work? You're a professional dancer, you're part of a company with professional dancers. What drew you to this type of community engagement work?
Well, my history is long at this point. I've been doing what I do for almost 40 years. My personal involvement in the field of theater and dance didn't begin until college. I went to Washington University as a pre-law major and was an English major. Happened to take a dance class, happened to love it. By sophomore year, I changed my major to dance, and that's actually when my involvement in the field of arts really began. So after pursuing my dance degree at Washington University, I eventually moved to New York. And Stuart had started a company at the very beginnings of his company. And I began to work with Stuart in that capacity, as well as dancing with lots of other companies in New York City back in the day. But as we developed our work, and I think this goes a little bit to the fact that both Stuart and myself came to the field of performance not as kids who grew up through the theater, but really came to it later on at college age and older. We were interested in not only making work on the stage that would have relevance and would resonate with audiences, but also finding ways to move that experience off the stage and into communities that perhaps would never come to the theater. So what is now referred to as community inclusive work, which is actually what we've been doing for some 40 years, was the notion of how can we involve people in an experiential workshop or program that would allow them to have their voice heard in a way that perhaps they hadn't had a chance to. And they may never step in a theater, or they might as a result of that experience. But we felt it was really important to demystify the sort of expression that art gives you, but also to provide it to people that wouldn't have the opportunity otherwise. And that, from that sort of simple mission, I would say, began our work in community inclusive work. Back early, let's say in the early 90s, we were being presented at the University of Florida in their presenting series. It's similar to like the Alice Stevens Theater. But the presenter asked us if we were interested in doing workshops in the community, and we were, and she suggested that we do something at the hospital. And at that point, this is 91, we had not at that point worked in a hospital setting. And we presented a workshop for nurses and therapists, and it was very successful. And from that, we developed our program that we call Caring for the Caregiver, that we now have done all over the world for the past 4 decades. And I think the reason that this has worked for us as artists and the kind of work that we are involved in, and it's certainly not for everybody, and it's not for every artist, but it really comes from the sensibility that we have as what it is we want to say in the work that we put on stage, which is, it's about telling story, and telling story about not fantastical stories and not heightened reality, but in fact exposing, under the skin of humanity, what goes on. And we always say that we focus on love, loss, and longing. Those seem to be our sort of themes in our work, coming from personal experience, our own and the people we work with. And when we work in caregiving communities, as well as many others that we have engaged, veterans and people with strokes and cancer survivors and kids and prisoners and lots of other populations, what we're interested in doing is shedding light on their story, letting their story be heard, and allowing them to find some expression for it. And that has grown into what we do. And this project, Raising Our Voices, is a true example of what our mission has been artistically and philosophically for many years. So that's the sort of long answer to how did we get to this sort of work.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm going to now turn it to Brendan and Deidre. How did you, each of you, and then I would love to hear from a couple of other people too on our call, which I'll just call on you. But Brendan, we'll start with you. How did you come to be a part of this project?
I think prior to moving to Birmingham, I was diagnosed in 1995 with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's in Houston, Texas, where I was living at the time. And I became part of a support group where I got really, really close, grew very, very close to the people in the support group. And I think, as Deidre mentioned earlier, it's a blessing, and it's very difficult too, because we do lose people in cancer support groups. What I found in the support group was where there are 2 or more cancer survivors or caregivers or someone affected by the disease, there's a tremendous connection, and that's where healing can happen in the face of horrific things. So I knew that to get together with other patients and other people affected by the disease was a good thing, and was a healing thing. So a friend of mine who's also a friend of Kimberly's forwarded me an email telling me about Raising Our Voices. And so I very quickly responded and said, I'm all in. That's how I got here. I already had that seed planted, and I knew that it was going to be healing. And I'm open to the healing piece, because really facing all of this, and as hard as it's been, losing people, losing my wife, there's still joy in life, and there's still rich living to be done. Yeah.
Thank you. Deidre, what about you? How did you come to decide to be a part of this show?
Well, I have a friend that's also a cast member, Meredith McLemore, and we became friends through the breast cancer world. And she said, you really should do this with me. Like, I've never in my life done any kind of singing, dancing, performing. I can't do that. And she said, come to the, information session and just see. And like, okay, so I sign up and just think there is no way I can't do this, which is not something that I usually say is I can't. But I had no experience, which just really freaked me out. And it was very intimidating. We had professional dancers with the theater company. We had these wonderful UAB theater and dance people, and then there was me with no experience. But everybody had this connection to cancer, and it became this warm, caring group that it became it became more than more than more than dance, and it was just feeling, and healing, and I could do it. I wasn't the best dancer, and sometimes everybody was going left and I was going right, and but it was absolutely the most wonderful experience I've had. So I'm glad that I did it. I ended up finding a wonderful oncologist out of this, Dr. Salvador, which I believe is on the call. She was right next to me in one of the line dances, and that was just wonderful. That's kind of one of the connections that I made, and it was intimidating. Like I said, it was intimidating at first, but it just almost like a family. Like Brenda mentioned, a support group. And then COVID came and kind of ruined that whole thing for a while. But and now I'm so excited that we're back together. What Suzanne has created again is such a warm and open. When I saw everybody that first day when we were back, it was so wonderful, like giving everybody those long hugs. And now it's being part of a team and practicing hard every day and going for something, and really that whole raising our voices, it means more. Just we are saying something and sharing our experiences, each of us, those of us that have had cancer, those of us that have lost somebody to cancer. In the productions, we are always raising our hands for something, and I think that's very representative of our own experiences, and it's also teaching us to do this in our lives. And Um, that's probably a very long answer, but it's been just one of the best experiences that I've ever had. And I'm so glad that I said I can. And now I'm trying again and I will. So thank you.
Thank you, Deidre. I did want to just get one more. I see Nancy Ward is here. Now she's not able to be with us this round. She's going to be out of town. But Nancy, would you just tell the brief story about how you got involved last year, what you thought you were coming to, and what happened as a result? And you're on mute. Nancy, you're still on mute. Oh, there you go.
Did you unmute me?
Nancy, do you mind just sharing that little tidbit?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So I think I found out about it. I was trying to remember, but I get emails from Alice Stevens and, you know, UAB or whatever. So I think that's where I saw it, because I always like to know everything that's going on around town. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor, once in 2004 and once in 2017. I was diagnosed and treated for stage 2 breast cancer. And my young husband died of cancer several decades ago. And, you know, like everybody, I have lots of, you know, there's lots of cancer in my life, or most people's lives have been touched by cancer. So I've never done anything on stage, but that's like one of my fantasies. So I just thought it sounded great, and it was an amazing experience. Such a uplifting and fun and supportive, and like Deidre said, it was just like having a great big support group. And yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed all aspects of it. So I'm, you know, like I said, I'm really disappointed I can't participate this year, but I'm planning to come to rehearsal so I can see everybody. So, you know, maybe this weekend I can kind of crash one of the rehearsals and, you know, see what's going on this year. So, yeah, that's my story.
But you thought you were coming to see a show, right? And then before you knew it.
Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot that. You know, chemo affects your brain cells and maybe old age, but your memory. No, that's right. I was thinking I was coming to a performance. I'd forgotten that part, but yeah, so it was wonderful. And I had told my friend Martha, who's on the call, about it, and we had, you know, decided to do it together. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Anything else I need to remember, Kimberly? Besides the steps?
No, that's great. That's great.
I certainly identified with Deidre when she said I was going left and they were going right, because yeah, I struggled with that. If I could, as long as I had somebody to watch, lots of times it was Kimberly,
Yes.
I could do fine. But then when you took away my prop, I was lost.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy. I want to turn it back over to Suzanne and Dana. As we do this, if you'll go ahead and just start sharing some of the photos. But Suzanne, will you talk a little bit about the creative process for something like this? Because you're not only, you know, creating a work, but you're integrating, you know, the stories and the experiences of the participants.
Sure. So I think the way that this project sort of came to be in Birmingham was based on a project I had been commissioned to do in Minneapolis. And I was commissioned by Gilda's Club Minneapolis. Gilda's Club is a cancer support organization founded by Gilda Radner of Saturday Night Live. And when she was diagnosed with cancer, she felt like she didn't have a community that was supportive, even though she was living in Manhattan, of course. So the first Gilda's Club was based in and is based in downtown Manhattan. There are now 14 Gilda's Clubs around the country, and Minneapolis was the most recent club to be added, and that was in 2016. At the time that they opened, they were interested in, the program director specifically, Ali DeCamillis, was interested in two things. One, sort of getting Gilda's Club name out into the community so people would know about it. It's all their services are free. It's psychosocial services, so it's everything from play groups for kids to support groups to yoga classes, all sorts of things. And it's not, some people mistakenly think it's only for women because it was founded by Gilda Radner. That's not true. It's for all people of all kinds of cancers. It's not just specifically ovarian cancer. So they asked me if I'd be interested in creating a performance piece that might bring a little more notice to the new Gilda's Club in Minneapolis. So I did that. I created a work with people that were involved at Gilda's, both as cancer survivors, newly diagnosed, people who had lost people to cancer. And it was a really moving, project. It happened somewhat quickly over a couple of months. Some people were quite ill while they were in the process, and yet they continued. And our PBS station in Minneapolis followed that show through rehearsal and into performance, and it became a half-an-hour documentary. Kimberly saw that documentary, and she was really, we had worked together. Kimberly had brought me in to do workshops here at UAB hospitals, and our company had performed at the sorority. And she was interested in that project as something that could possibly happen here. So that's, from Kimberly's interest and our collaboration is how we came to Birmingham just before COVID to create Raising Our Voices. No two projects, no matter what, are ever the same. And so I have to start from square one. I don't come to impose a project or teach something that already exists on people. That's not of interest to me, first of all, and secondly, it's not possible. So I started by coming in to Birmingham in January before we began and meeting with various groups and hearing their cancer stories. Basically, how are you connected to this illness? Is it your family member? Is it you? Is it someone you know? Is it someone you lost? And from that, I gleaned a lot of stories, and B, sort of asked people to participate if they were so inclined. In some cases, I sort of grabbed their arm and said, "You are inclined, you'll come along now." So, and that's how the project began. Again, this particular project happened very quickly, and as you know, was unfortunately blunted by COVID. But we developed the performance over 2 weeks, and it was daily rehearsals, two a day. And the process really for me is about listening. It's really about listening. That's really what the process is. The process is me listening to people's stories, and along with the participants, find a way to find expression for them. Sometimes that is without any words. Sometimes it's through movement and dance. Sometimes it's with a lot of words, a monologue or a dialogue. Sometimes it's through singing and music. And it's really, for me as a director, trying to find what is the best way to express an individual story or a collective sort of quilt of stories artistically, and give voice, as the title indicates, give voice to these stories collectively and individually. So that's the process, and that's kind of how we got here, where we are.
Suzanne, I also want to ask you, as we know, there are a number of people in the cast who, like Deidre said that, and Nancy, I believe, but a lot of people who did not have any prior experience performing on a stage, what is your process? How do you help people feel comfortable, doing this type of thing? It's not only, performing, but it's a, a reflection of their story as well. And sometimes it's their story literally. How do you guide that process and make people invite people, in a comfortable way?
Well, I think, again, for me, for my process, and also what I'm interested in, is that there's something about the naivete of not having training is interesting to me. So when someone says, oh, I don't have acting training, I don't have dancing training, that's kind of not my concern. My concern is you have this story, you're a human being, with this experience, and not to downplay the importance of the expression of it, but that I can take you to, as a director, I can bring you to that place. It's similar to how I teach kids and senior adults, any population that doesn't self-identify as dancers. For me, look, at movement is our first language as humans. We move in the womb before we ever are born. So I believe that movement is actually everyone's language. And what I'm interested in is movement. Call it whatever you want, but it's movement. The other thing is I like to set the bar high because I think people always meet it. So in my experience, great, don't identify, whatever, I'm going to ask you to do this. And basically, I'm pretty confident you'll do it. I mean, you'll be able to do that thing. People say, oh, I don't sing. Great. Here's the lyrics. We're going to sing. Next thing, you're singing, So I guess that as a teacher, as a mentor, I'm very inclined to always expect more of people than they might find that they would expect of themselves. And they always meet it. And also the strength of this kind of work is really what the content is. The content are human stories that we, as the other people in the world, don't know. And they're fascinating and compelling and heartbreaking and unifying and connecting. And so many people have incredible experiences that we never know about. Not everybody writes a novel. So we get to hear a wealth of experiences that we can identify with or be in awe of in this capacity. And I love being a part of that. Here, I'll mute myself now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Suzanne. I would like to now, pose a question to Brendan, Deidre, and I'd love to hear from Carolina, Salvador as well. Well, Brendan, you have a little bit of experience in performance, but, I loved yesterday in our rehearsal, you're like, I'm claiming I'm a dancer. And I just thought that was the best thing I've heard in a while, just owning that. But I would love to hear from each of you about, kind of a little bit about what this creative process has been like for you. What are some things that have been especially challenging or especially rewarding, specifically to, moving through this process in your body and in your voice? So we'll start with Brendan.
So I do have some stage experience. And I remember I worked for the Walt Disney World Company. I did about 3,000 shows for them, 2,000 or 3,000, a lot. And it was great. It was fantastic. I did stunt work. I had been a hyperactive child, and my mom threw me into some Ritalin, and then she threw me into some gymnastics classes, and I took off, and it changed my life. So I ended up at Disney doing this show there. I didn't ever perform speaking into a microphone, and my dance was simply mimicking a monkey. So I didn't have to, those of you who have seen Festival of the Lion King in Orlando, but I never had to formally dance and train. And I was a punk rock singer, so you don't have to sing when you're in a punk rock band. So when I got here last year and then yesterday, I had been using the excuse, I'm not an actor, I'm not a singer, I'm not a dancer. And I heard myself say that, and I heard someone else in the group say that, and I said, I'm changing that. I'm changing that today. I am a dancer, as clumsy as it is, and it folds into that piece that Suzanne was just talking about, which is putting creative movement to our stories, because our stories are incredible, and they're deep, and they're passionate, and they're sad, and they're joyful, and they're amazing. And when we put movement to it and we're guided through that process, I become a singer and I become a dancer. And it's not about hitting the note perfectly. And it's not about my turnout and my tour jeté, which I will not be doing. But yeah. Did that answer your question? Was there a second part of that as well?
Well, I was thinking perhaps if there has been a specific moment for you, but I think claiming that you are a dancer, that and that you're going to kind of change that narrative for yourself and allow yourself to kind of take those risks is great. Deidre, what about you? What has the creative process been like for you? Both when we started this project a year and a half plus ago, and then coming back to it this past weekend.
I think, well, I'm not sure about the first time. I know, I think having a strong partner, especially someone from Stuart Pimsler, has been great. This time I'm noticing what my creative process is kind of letting go, which is seems counterintuitive, but I tend to be more stiff, and I'm having to just like let it go and go with the flow. And Heather, my wonderful partner from Stuart Pimsler, is kind of helping me with that. And Jen, from the first time, Jen Prey was amazing as well. And so I've been lucky to have two partners. So having a wonderful partner is definitely part of that. And a very good example that I told you all about the other day is being led. So Heather was the whole thing we were doing was, one partner is the leader, and so she was leading me and dancing around the floor, and I couldn't do it. It was just like we were just kind of all over the place because I was resisting, but not really knowing that. Since I'm not a dancer, Brendan. And so once we kind of figured out that I needed to let go and let her lead, it was just amazing. It was this, you could feel the transformation from going from just to all the way to where she could lead. And it was just kind of, it was amazing with me. Like I could feel it in my body, like this tight, to where like my shoulders were more relaxed, and then to where it was just flowing. So that I feel like that's a very deep kind of emotional pent up that I don't even realize, to relaxing, letting her take control, almost like not giving her my issues, but just giving them giving them out, letting go, and letting her lead, which was difficult. I told everybody it was kind of like the trust tree, tree, when you fall back and let the group catch you. It's just difficult. I've never been led. I've never known how to let someone lead me. So that's something that you have to learn to do when you're not used to it. And it's kind for people that don't know if there's any, I told them it was kind of like a mammogram, when you kind of you stand there and you want to help them, and they're like, no, just stand there. I'll do what you need, I'll do what I need to do. And you pull your arm and put it certain places, and you're just like, no, just stand there. Just stand there. Let me do my job. And you still kind of want to move and help them, and they're just like, let me do my job, you stand there. And that's what she said. And when I realized that it was so easy and so flowing, so the process for me has just been kind of learning to let go. And I tend to keep everything like, in kind of tense and very pent up inside, I guess. And I think learning to let go and kind of move with the movement, and I think letting things go and learning to enjoy this and make it fun. I remember the last time this happening, and just being kind of feeling free to enjoy dance, because it's not something that was a part of anything that we did growing up, and it felt just so freeing, and being such a part of the group. And just, I remember thinking, I'm going to take a dance class after that. So it's been amazing. I know my process is different from everyone else's, but it's been great. So thank you.
Thank you, Deidre. Dr. Carolina Salvador, I know you're with us. I'm so happy to see you. Dr. Salvador was in our original version, and I do want to make a note that the photographs that you were seeing, that was from before we had, the masking and COVID precautions. So just a statement there. But Dr. Salvador, I know it's been a little while for you, but I would love to just hear from you about your kind of experiences with the process, creatively, when we did the first iteration of this, but even though we didn't get to actually perform it.
I'm very happy to be here, and hello to everyone. It's great to see you all today. So I went into this process thinking that I was there just to share and support people, to find out that the opposite really happened. And when I had to share my connection to cancer at that time, talking about my son and the loss of him. And it was very humbling experience to see how people accepted me, accepted my two left feet, because I don't have a right foot. I only have two left, and they do not coordinate with each other. Although I thought they did, so it was just like, oh my God, I'm like the worst dancer around here. Kind of. But the creative process. And that is what you want to know about. And I remember specifically we had to come with one word that will define our experience with cancer, our loss with cancer, and that help this healing process, because I think that when you lose someone in your life to cancer, to something else, the healing process is a continuous, forever process. So these are art, this expression of it really helped me dealing with it, accepting some things and working on things that I may not have thought about before. I enjoy working with everyone. I enjoy the teaching from everyone, sharing the stories with everyone, and just becoming one of them and not carrying my title of Dr. Salvador throughout. I think that got lost the first day when we share our stories. So it was very amazing to experience firsthand how art can heal and help you heal, help the process of healing, whether it is that you have had cancer yourself or that you lost someone. And thank you for inviting me today, Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Now, I don't believe have seen any questions in the chat, but I would really like in our last 9 minutes, just kind of open it up, to, well, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge that Sophia Deal and Heather Klopchin are here on this with us. They are the two amazing dancers that are part of the Stuart Pimsler Dance Theater program, Dance and Theater company. And just want to just acknowledge that they're here with us too, and they're amazing. And I know the cast loves working with them. But I wanted to take this last 9 minutes to just leave it open to, anything that we didn't cover that you feel is important to share with people, either about the process, about the importance of community, or just, the impact of creativity and expression on your life or your healing process. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I guess I'll start with Suzanne. Is there anything else that you want to share about this? And you're on mute.
Thank you. So I'm imagining, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm imagining that people who hear, oh, there's a performance that deals with cancer might decide to do something else that day. It's not necessarily, I think because people are afraid, many of us, of that thing. But here's the thing is, as I look at this, and for people not involved in the performance and also just perhaps thinking maybe they'll come, it's like a book of short stories, really. I mean, this show is, if you like to hear about, human experience in short stories and learn what you learn from that kind of, expression of a personal moment or moments. I think that's what this performance is. The commonality is that people have had a cancer experience, but the larger commonality is that people are a part of a community in many other ways besides the cancer connection. That's how we got together. What ends up happening, I think, is creating something that's much larger than the commonality of cancer. I think it's like an art town, it's about an expression of a moment in a community and the collective stories that come from that. And I say that to invite people to come if they're interested to watch this, because I think there's so much beauty and wisdom in this production that actually has nothing to do with cancer. So I'll put that out there as a marketing ploy, but also because I want I'm so proud of the people who are a part of this and have contributed what they have of themselves. I think it's just an enjoyable performance. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Suzanne. Brendan?
Gosh, honestly, I forgot what the question was, because what's been coming up for me is this realization that I've had over the last 25, 26 years since I was diagnosed with stage 4 incurable cancer, and here I am. Whether I like it or not, I am a long-term stage 4 incurable cancer survivor, and I'm a beacon for people, an example of hope, and an example of a survivor. That being said, not everybody survives. My wife didn't survive. That being said, we're all dying. How are we going to live? I'm dying. How am I going to live? And so to step into this awkward, uncomfortable, theatrical production of raising our voices, how am I going to live? I'm creating. What am I creating? I'm living today. And I love that about this. It scares me so much, but I love it. It's exhilarating. Thanks.
Thank you, Brendan. Deidre, what about you? Anything that you want to leave us with that we haven't touched on yet?
Yes, I love Brendan's answer. It's so inspiring. I mean, this is totally awkward and uncomfortable, and that just makes you want to go out there and be awkward and uncomfortable and give it all you've got. I did want to say I'm really grateful to SPDT, to UAB Arts and Medicine. This is wonderful. I mean, this is a service provided that is free for us. It's free for the people coming to get tickets, which I guess Kimberly will go over in a second. But we're at the Alice Stevens Center. I mean, that is amazing that we're getting to perform there. It's the symphony performs there, the Broadway shows, it's just an amazing place. Like when I walked in and went into the room where we were practicing, I was just like, oh, this is amazing. So I'm very grateful for this chance. I mean, it's a real performance, like like I said, being on the Alice Stevens stage. But I would like, if you have a second, really quick, Kimberly, just to I know how difficult this is for this to be put together. So if you could just quickly go through, like you had to get a grant. I know the National Institute for the Arts and that kind of thing. And thank you for doing all this. And Lauren,
Yeah, well, I'll just say quickly, and Dana put the link if anyone on the call would like to come, we would love for you to come. It's October 29th and 30th. 6:30 p.m. here at the Alice Stevens Center. It's free. We're following COVID protocols, so we have limited space. But we would love for you to join us. You can click on that link. Yes, I would like to say that you know, for the first iteration, Suzanne and Stuart Pimsler Dance Theater got support from the National Endowment for the Arts. And we also got support from the Women's Breast Health Fund and of the Community Foundation of Greater Birmingham, and partnering with Forge Breast Health. And so yeah, so that's why, you know, supporting the arts is, you know, with your time and funds is so important to allow for things like this to happen. So thank you, Deidre. And then we just have one more minute, but I would love if there's anyone else on the Zoom that is part of the show that wanted to share something about the experience that hasn't been shared, would love to open that up. And I'll just wait a few seconds and see if anyone unmutes. Nazma, are you able to, can you speak? Nazma was supposed to be one of our featured guests, but she shares that it's an honorable and notable, inspiring, such an honor, you know, in inspiring stories, and there's been a lot of bonds developed in lifelong memories. But anyway, thank you all so much for participating. Thank you, Heather and Sophia and Suzanne, for your beautiful art and your beautiful spirit, and Deidre and Brendan and everybody on this call. Dr. Salvador, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for willing, you know, to come into the space and take risks and be uncomfortable and support one another. It's an honor, a true honor to be a part of this. And I tell people that this is really, this Raising Our Voices project is really a key example of the power of arts and health. And so if you're interested in learning about that power, please come see the show. And then the next Virtual Mental Health Monday will be November the 15th at noon. And actually, we're going to feature some of our amazing artists and residents through UAB Institute for Arts and Medicine. So please join us and learn about some of their stories and reflections from the last 8 years of our work. Thank you again, everybody. Have a beautiful day.